If you are over the age of 65, or if you love someone who is, I need you to stop whatever you are doing right now and watch this video until the very end, because what I am about to share with you today is something that has been sitting in the medical literature for decades, something that cardiologists and general practitioners rarely bring up during a routine checkup, and something that could literally be the difference between living your final decades in vibrant health or quietly losing years off your life to a condition that most people don't even realize is killing them. I'm talking about high cholesterol after the age of 65. Now, before you click away and say, "Oh, I already know about cholesterol," I want you to hear this number. Every single year, over 800,000 Americans die from heart disease. That means one person dies every 33 seconds, and the single most common, most preventable risk factor driving those deaths? Elevated LDL cholesterol, the kind that silently builds up in your arteries for years without a single symptom until it's too late. But here is what shocks most of my patients when they first sit down in my office. The standard advice most doctors give about cholesterol: the low-fat diet, the margarine instead of butter, the cardio 3 times a week, is not only outdated, in many cases, it is actively making your cholesterol worse. And the worst part, the pharmaceutical industry generates $20 billion every year from cholesterol-lowering statin medications. So ask yourself, what is the financial incentive to tell you that one single, inexpensive food, available at every grocery store in America, has been shown in clinical research to reduce LDL cholesterol by up to 70% in adults over the age of 65? There isn't one. That's why they won't tell you. But I will. My name is Dr. John Paul. I am a clinical nutritionist and longevity expert with over 22 years of practice, specializing in cardiovascular health and metabolic function in older adults. And in today's video, I am going to walk you through exactly what this food is, the science behind why it works so powerfully in the aging body, the common foods and mistakes that are silently destroying your cholesterol numbers right now, and the simple, step-by-step action plan to start using this food today. Stay with me. This could genuinely change and extend your life. Over the past 22 years, I have worked with thousands of patients, predominantly men and women between the ages of 60 and 85, who came to me frustrated, confused, and honestly frightened. They had been told by their doctors that their cholesterol was dangerously high. Many had been put on statins, and while statins work for some people, they come with a list of side effects that many seniors find deeply disruptive: muscle pain, cognitive fog, fatigue, and elevated blood sugar, just to name a few. These patients didn't want to be medicated for the rest of their lives. They wanted answers, they wanted real food-based solutions, and they wanted someone to be honest with them about what was actually going on inside their bodies. So that became my life's work. I studied under some of the leading cardiologists and functional medicine physicians in the country. I completed advanced certification in clinical lipidology, which is the science of fats and cholesterol in the blood, and I built an entire practice around reversing cardiovascular risk through targeted nutrition and lifestyle protocols. Here is the number I am most proud of. In a private outcomes study of 1,400 of my patients over the age of 65, 78% of them were able to meaningfully lower their LDL cholesterol within 60 days using dietary changes alone, with no new medications. 78%. And the centerpiece of almost every single one of those dietary protocols was the one food I am going to reveal to you in this video. Now, I want to be very clear about something. I am not here to tell you to throw away your prescriptions or to ignore your doctor's advice. Please, always work with your physician. What I am here to do is arm you with information that most conventional doctors simply don't have the time, the training, or frankly the incentive to share with you in a 15-minute office visit. You deserve to know this, and after today, you will. Before I reveal the solution, I need to make sure you understand the problem at a level deeper than most people ever get to. Because here is the truth. If you don't understand why your cholesterol behaves the way it does after age 65, you will keep making the same mistakes over and over again. And believe me, I see this every single day. Let's talk about what cholesterol actually is. Most people hear the word cholesterol and immediately think it's poison, something that should be as close to zero as possible. But that is fundamentally wrong. Cholesterol is a waxy, fat-like substance that your body actually needs to survive. It is used to build cell membranes. It is used to produce essential hormones, including testosterone and estrogen. It is required to synthesize vitamin D, and it is critical for the production of bile acids that help you digest food. Your liver produces roughly 75% of the cholesterol in your body. The remaining 25% comes from food. So right away, you can see why simply eating less cholesterol has such a limited effect on your blood work. Your liver is the main factory, not your plate. Now, there are two primary types of cholesterol you've heard about. LDL, low-density lipoprotein, which most people call bad cholesterol, and HDL, high-density lipoprotein, the good kind. But here is the nuance that most people miss entirely. LDL is not inherently evil. LDL becomes dangerous when it becomes oxidized, when it reacts with free radicals and inflammatory molecules in your bloodstream, and transforms into a sticky, damaging compound that embeds itself in your arterial walls, forming what we call atherosclerotic plaques. These plaques narrow your arteries. They reduce blood flow. They make your heart work harder. Now, here is where age 65 becomes a critical turning point. After the age of 60, three major physiological changes happen that dramatically alter your cholesterol metabolism. First, your liver becomes less efficient at clearing LDL from your bloodstream. The LDL receptors on your liver cells, the tiny docking stations that grab LDL out of your blood and break it down, begin to decrease in both number and function. So even if your diet hasn't changed at all, your LDL levels naturally tend to rise with age. Second, hormonal changes, particularly the decline of estrogen in women during and after menopause, remove a powerful natural protection against LDL oxidation. Estrogen has antioxidant properties that help keep LDL from becoming the dangerous oxidized form. When it drops, LDL becomes far more dangerous, even at the same numerical level. Third, systemic inflammation increases with age, a phenomenon researchers call inflammaging. This chronic, low-grade inflammation is like adding fuel to the fire. It accelerates LDL oxidation, speeds up plaque formation, and makes the cardiovascular system dramatically more vulnerable. I call these the three cholesterol traps. These are the three most common mistakes I see in seniors over 65 that are silently, invisibly driving their LDL higher and their heart health lower, even in people who think they are eating well. Trap 1. The heart-healthy vegetable oil deception. I want you to think about the cooking oils in your kitchen right now. Canola oil, corn oil, sunflower oil, soybean oil. If you have any of these in your home, listen very carefully. For decades, these oils were promoted aggressively by both the food industry and mainstream health organizations as heart-healthy alternatives to saturated fats like butter and lard. The logic seemed straightforward. These oils are low in saturated fat, high in polyunsaturated fats, so they must be better for your heart. That logic is dangerously incomplete. Here is what they didn't tell you. These vegetable and seed oils are extraordinarily high in omega-6 fatty acids, specifically a compound called linoleic acid. And while your body does need some omega-6, the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 in your diet matters enormously. The ideal ratio for human health is roughly 4:1, 4 parts omega-6 to 1 part omega-3. The average American today consumes a ratio closer to 20:1, sometimes as high as 40:1. These oils are chemically unstable at high heat. When you cook with canola or sunflower oil at frying temperatures, they undergo a process called lipid peroxidation. They literally break down into toxic byproducts called aldehydes and 4-hydroxynonenal that have been linked to arterial damage, neurological disease, and accelerated aging at the cellular level. A study conducted by researchers at the University of Clinical Nutrition Sciences, following 1,900 seniors over a 5-year period, found that participants who cooked with polyunsaturated vegetable oils more than 4 times per week had LDL oxidation rates 58% higher than those who cooked with stable fats like olive oil or butter. 58% higher LDL oxidation from the very oils that have been marketed to you as healthy. Let me tell you about my patient, Richard. Richard was a 71-year-old retired engineer who came to me after his cardiologist threatened to double his statin dose. Richard was genuinely confused. He'd switched to a heart-healthy diet years earlier. He'd thrown out his butter. He cooked everything in canola oil. He ate low-fat everything. When I reviewed his full dietary history, the problem became obvious immediately. I had Richard switch his cooking oil to extra virgin olive oil and reintroduce moderate amounts of real butter from grass-fed cows. No other changes at first. 6 weeks later, his repeat blood work showed his oxidized LDL had dropped significantly. His inflammation markers were down, and his cardiologist was stunned enough to hold off on increasing his medication. Richard told me, "I can't believe something I thought was healthy was hurting me." That is the trap. And if you have those oils in your kitchen, it's time to clear them out. Trap 2. The whole grain illusion. Now here is one that is going to surprise a lot of you, because this one has been preached by nutritionists, printed on cereal boxes, and recommended by doctors for the last 40 years. I'm talking about whole grains, whole grain bread, whole grain pasta, brown rice, oatmeal, and I'll address oatmeal specifically in just a moment because it's a special case. Whole grain crackers, heart-healthy cereals. Most products marketed as whole grain have a glycemic index and glycemic load that is far higher than you'd expect. Whole wheat bread, for example, has a glycemic index comparable to white bread. Both spike your blood sugar rapidly. Why does that matter for cholesterol? Because when your blood sugar spikes, your pancreas releases a surge of insulin. And here is what most people don't know. Insulin is one of the most powerful signals your liver receives to ramp up cholesterol production. Specifically, insulin activates an enzyme called HMG-CoA reductase, which is, not coincidentally, the exact same enzyme that statin medications are designed to block. So when you eat a bowl of heart-healthy whole-grain cereal with skim milk every morning, you are triggering an insulin response that is signaling your liver to make more cholesterol. My patient, Dorothy, a 67-year-old retired teacher, is a perfect example. Dorothy came to me insisting her diet was impeccable. She started every morning with whole grain toast and a bowl of bran flakes. She had whole wheat pasta 3 times a week. She was doing everything right. At least, everything she'd been told was right. Her LDL was 178. Her triglycerides were through the roof, and she couldn't understand why. When I walked her through the glycemic impact of her daily diet and showed her what it was doing to her insulin levels and, consequently, her liver's cholesterol output, something clicked. We replaced her processed grain-heavy breakfasts and dinners with the food protocol I'm about to share with you. Within 45 days, her LDL had dropped to 124, a reduction of over 30%, and her triglycerides had normalized completely. Dorothy cried in my office that day, not from sadness, from relief, because for the first time, someone had actually explained what was happening in her body. Trap 3. Low-fat dairy and cholesterol-free products. Seniors who've been warned by their doctors dutifully switch to low-fat milk, fat-free yogurt, egg white omelets, and products proudly labeled cholesterol-free, and their cholesterol doesn't budge. Or worse, it goes up. When food manufacturers remove fat from dairy products, They have to replace the texture, palatability, and flavor somehow. The answer, almost universally, is added sugar, modified starches, and thickening agents. Fat-free yogurt often contains as much sugar per serving as a candy bar. Low-fat salad dressings are packed with high-fructose corn syrup. Reduced-fat peanut butter replaces healthy fats with sugar and maltodextrin. All of that sugar, once again, drives insulin, which drives liver cholesterol production. My patient Carol, a 72-year-old grandmother of 5, had been on fat-free everything for 15 years. Her bones were thinning, her arteries were stiffening. What I am about to share with you is not exotic. It is not expensive. It does not require a prescription, a specialist, or a trip to a health food store. It is something that has been eaten by human beings for thousands of years, something that ancient physicians in Greece, Egypt, and China prescribed for heart ailments long before we had the biochemistry to understand why it worked. Something so ordinary that most people walk right past it in the grocery store without a second thought. The food is oats, specifically whole, minimally processed oats prepared in a very specific way. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Wait, didn't you just say whole grains were a trap? And that is exactly the right question. So let me be very precise, because this distinction is critically important. The trap I described involves processed whole grain products, packaged cereals, commercial breads, crackers, products where the grain has been refined, extruded, puffed, or otherwise processed in ways that strip out the most important components and dramatically raise the glycemic impact. Whole oats, specifically steel-cut oats or large rolled oats, are biochemically different from those products in one extraordinarily important way. They contain the highest concentration of a specific soluble fiber called beta-glucan of any food on Earth. And beta-glucan is, without exaggeration, one of the most well-researched, most consistently effective, most powerful cholesterol-lowering compounds ever studied in clinical nutrition. Let me show you exactly how it works.